welcome back to another episode of the Making Money Move Show. We're so happy that you're here with us today. I got Larry back on with us again this week, or excited to have him back on here. Today we're going to be talking about the fear of failure, because I think that we all experience that.
Mm-hmm.
So, what comes to mind when you think about that?
Giving up.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it gets tough.
Yeah, it's like the strong. It takes like a different breed, for sure.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to build something and you're not sure about it. And it's something that hasn't been done or no one that you know has done it before. No one really lean on about it.
Mm-hmm.
It breeds a lot of doubt.
Definitely. Yeah, I agree with that. I was listening to Chris and Lori's podcast earlier today, and one of the things that they were talking about was they were talking about having investors and like having skin in the game because that makes it harder for you to drop out.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you have other people's money that have invested in you, or contracts or anything like that, like it makes it really difficult for you and like keeps you fighting a little bit longer, which I think is applicable.
Yeah, I think even having your own skin in the game,
yes.
Being that, bills to pay and mouth to feed, that there's your skin in the game there.
Yeah, you don't have a choice.
Yeah, especially when you put all your cards on the table and you're trying to make your business your sole income. That's a big motivating factor, but it's also scary.
Yeah, it is really scary.
Mm-hmm. Especially when you know that there's a level of security in having a regular job, which is probably the only benefit, aside from gaining experience, of working a 9-to-5, is security.
But even at that, like, it's not that secure. You don't
Depending
know.
on what you do.
Well, I guess. Where I was going with that was, like, you don't know what your employer's goals are. You don't know what their intentions are, what their bookkeeping looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if they're skipping out on the IRS. You don't know if they're...
How many ads they have out on Indeed.
Yeah, well, that, but also, like, you don't know if their intention is to sell the business in 3 years.
That too.
Or 5 years or 8 years, and you're planning to retire from that company.
Especially if it's not a corporation, like if it's a small, like...
Even corporations sell.
Yeah, but that's harder.
I don't think so.
To get screwed over on.
Maybe.
Anyway.
I don't know. Just food for thought.
Yeah.
Food for thought. You don't know you don't have control of your job.
Yes. Yeah, when you are an employee, you're definitely...
Yeah, you're at the mercy of the employer and whatever their intentions are with their business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of up to you to just...
hope for the best.
Yeah. Hope and pray that...
your check's clear on Friday and that they're open on Monday.
Yeah.
That's something that we've been struggling with, is me leaving my 9-to-5 to put all of our eggs in our own basket. And it's a hard thing to do.
We've been battling that fear of failure.
Yes.
We know our work ethic. We know what we do. We know our goals. We know our intentions. We know the businesses that we have, the potential income streams. That is just a matter of marketing, really.
And putting the time into it.
Mm-hmm.
And spending 10 hours a day somewhere where you have that security, but it's not even really as much as it should be.
Very true.
Or as much as you could be making if you put your effort into yourself.
Mm-hmm. But it's also battling that limiting mindset and that scarcity mindset of what if it doesn't work out, and you can't give yourself that choice. You have to be all in 100% mentally.
Yeah, and it's hard too, especially for us. Like, our businesses are kind of seasonal, being in the wedding industry. It's got its busier season and its slower season. Mm-hmm. That it's year round, but it's...
People are getting married May through November. Those are the busy seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then December through April, it's a lot slower, for sure.
Yeah.
Not that they don't get married, it's just, it's not as busy.
Yeah, the volume's not as much. So that's what's part of my hesitation, is that leaving my job now in September, which is like the busiest month, knowing that it's coming up on a slow season of the businesses that we're going to be in. It almost feels like setting up for failure, but I know that the job that I work also gets slow in the winter. Mm-hmm. So spend 50 hours a week at one place and make a meh paycheck, or spend all my time working on our businesses at home and could be an infinite return for as much work as I'm willing to put in.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, we're just trying to be honest with you guys, be open, bring you along on the journey with us, because it's not easy. We're not trying to make it look easy. We're trying to be very vulnerable with you and show you that we're doing it. We're doing our freaking best. Yep. and
then it's not always sunshine and rainbows. I'm sure you could tell by the tone of this one that we're going through it a little bit mentally. That's
definitely. Yeah. And we just went through like all of our financials, and we've got so much money going out right now between trying to grow all of our businesses and support our family that we're trying to figure out just how to do it, especially with him coming full-time in the businesses.
Yeah, because my income was enough to keep the lights on, which...
Even at that, we're coming to find out it wasn't.
Yeah. After really sitting down and crunching the numbers on everything.
It helped, but it wasn't enough. Yeah. It isn't enough.
Yeah. And also coming to find that in our one business, our wedding strike business, if I work for not even 6 hours, I make a whole week's paycheck. So, duh.
Yeah, exactly.
But the fear of failure is huge for anyone starting.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter if it's been a couple of years like us, or if it's your first week and you're doubting yourself from the get-go, or if it's been 10 years and you're wondering if what you're doing is still working. That fear of failure is always there.
Yeah, and I guess you could also say, like...
It's motivating, too.
It is. It's very motivating, because you don't want to let yourself down. You don't want to let anybody else down around you. You don't want to let your kids down. If you're worried about... Like we had talked about in the other episode about people pleasing, if you're worried about disappointing or like appearing less than perfect, like that could be motivating for you, but that shouldn't be your motivation, but sometimes it is.
Yeah. You know, being afraid of that I told you so moment from the person that thinks that they're going to be the one to tell you so about your business and whatever else you're doing when they have no clue about it. So we know this has been a little on the sad end, or a little on the
melancholy.
Melancholy for sure. But like we said, we just want to show you guys the genuine side, that it's not easy.
It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, and it's not all big checks and easy living, because it's not.
You'll have your highs and your lows. And
there's so much more that you don't get to see. And pretty much everybody that you see, big names, people that are already big, that already have a lot of money, that already are doing successful in their businesses, that they, I don't want to say forgot, but they don't discuss so much their struggle. They have their one main story where it's like, I was living out of my car and, you know, big break, and then here I am. But to see a couple going through it in real time as we're building our businesses from the ground up, I think that's important.
Very important. Those are my favorite stories when I hear them on like the podcast that I listen to. Hearing their come up story is just incredible. I was listening to one that was like, she was a fashion designer and trying to make it in Italy, and
of all places,
she was like living in the factory trying to make this shit happen. And, like, those are the stories that we all need to hear more of. It's, like, the things that they overcame, because those are, like, what are empowering for us to keep going.
Yeah, because everyone loves a good build-up, comeback kind of story. But on the opposite side of that is that usually each person, it's the same story, and it's very condensed. It's, like I said, like, I was living in my car for 2 months, but it's like, what happened every single day of that 2 months? What was going through your head 24 hours a day for 2 months?
Yeah, how did you keep going?
Yeah, it's like, what was the motivation? What was the drive? What did you physically do in that time before you got up and on your feet again? And for some people, it's a couple weeks. Some people, it's a couple of years that they're in that rough patch. So we're trying to show you one of the rough patches that we go through. And it's all mental.
It's all mental. It's a little physical, but it's a lot of mental.
Yeah, and it puts the biggest strain on you when it's in your head, because that's the hardest place to get out of.
So true. Well, on that, we want to leave you with keep moving forward.
Yeah.
We hope that our example is, kind of like a handhold so that you can come with us on this journey. We want you to be there with us and on the ride.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching.
Yeah. And then you guys take us along on your journey, too. And when you're feeling like this, when you're feeling defeated and being afraid to fail and everything, just know that you're not the only one. Because anyone that's ever started anything has gone through it. So just keep chugging along.
You got this. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Listen in next time, and we'll talk to you then. Bye.
Bye.